All righty. Hello, everyone.
Got it.
Pass it on to Kelly Willits.
Wonderful. Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Kelly Willits. I'm the Director of Professional Development at Mid-America Arts Alliance, and I want to thank you for joining us for Real, Relevant, and Right Now, Branding, Research, Messaging, and Design. Please remember to keep your microphones muted until prompted by the hosts. For questions, feel free to drop them in the chat and they will be addressed at the end of the presentation. We have links to websites, mailing lists, and newsletters in the chat. For English captions, simply click on the CC icon at the bottom of your Zoom screen. However, for Spanish captions or to adjust the size and contrast, please see the bit.ly link in the chat. I want to also thank Total Captions for their services today. And a bit of information about Mid-America and Engage. Mid-America Arts Alliance strengthens and supports artists, cultural organizations, and communities through the region and beyond. We're a nonprofit regional arts organization representing Arkansas, Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska, Oklahoma, and Texas. And we focus on strengthening communities and improving lives through extraordinary cultural experiences. Mid-America Arts Alliance's Engage program provides community-centered, professional, and organizational development that focuses on leadership training for small to mid-sized arts and cultural organizations. Using a combination of workshops, coach consultations, and peer-to-peer learning opportunities, Engage works with participants to govern more effectively, become more fiscally astute, and develop strategies to address community needs. CASH, or Creative Arkansas Community Hub and Exchange, is an arts service organization based in Northwest Arkansas that helps to coordinate, connect, augment, export, and exchange these inspiring creative resources with the rest of the world. They are a proud ambassador of Northwest Arkansas and its artists, culture bearers, makers, dreamers, entrepreneurs, and collectives. Together, English developed Art Connect, a 2-year organizational development program and a cohort of local Northwest Arkansas arts and cultural organizations. This program is designed to deepen the impact of nonprofit arts and cultural organizations that are wedded to mission-driven community engagement, inspire participants to become active learners, and invigorate a renewed creative community that is instinctively connected. This afternoon, we are pleased to present Dream Team. Dream Team individualizes stakeholder research to excavate undeniable data to change organizational outlook. Serving arts and cultural organizations far and wide, their trusted research is proven to deliver the audience information you need to inform brand strategy, identify opportunities, and make the right decisions. Additionally, Dream Team branding and designs change how the cultural arts are perceived, experienced, and engaged in shaping communities. Beyond logos and artwork, Dream Team leads with thoughtful, mission-driven support to aid in every aspect of organizational strategy and audience communication goals. That was a mouthful. We have a lot to share.
Well done,
With that, I would love to welcome Surale Phillips, Cheryl Baldwin, and Laura Morse. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. On behalf of all of us at Dream Team, you can tell we're very close partners. We're thrilled to be with Mid-Atlantic Arts Alliance and partners today. Thank you for having us here. We want to tell you just a little bit about how we came to be today. We were born in 2019, so we're not that old, but we realized that by combining our 3 superpowers, we could really help the arts field level up its branding better than the typical marketing agency or research firm. And we can make extraordinary brands accessible even to small nonprofit arts organizations. The Dream Team brand expresses our team approach to the work as well as our passion for the work, because doing this work together is our dream. And we help arts and culture organizations realize theirs.
Yeah, so we're sorry we can't be with you in person in Mid-America, but we are in South Florida where it's 8,000 degrees and 1,000% humidity. And I hope you're not going through that there. I am Surale, and I've been helping arts organizations of literally all sizes and disciplines with research for more than 20 years. And if any of you took MA's strategic planning surveys or marketing surveys in the past couple of years, that was me. Hi, Margaret. I saw you pop in. Some of you actually might know me from some of the work that I've done in your communities or with you. Can't see the names of everybody who's on there. But after doing so many projects, I recognized that there was a gap in this field. Most of my clients, the research clients, didn't have a way to apply the insights that we uncovered during our work directly to their brands, particularly in the areas of messaging and design. And then I met these two amazing talents, and boom, the skies opened and Dream Team was born.
And again, I'm Laura Morse, and what I bring to this today is that, like many of you, spending decades in the cultural arts, I started off in the museum world as an educator, writing and planning and producing exhibits, and then running museums. And later on as VP of communications and fundraising for some larger nonprofits. So I'm telling you that to help you understand that what we're talking about today hopefully going to resonate and help you know that we understand what it is you're dealing with on a daily basis and provide solutions. We see you.
And hi, everyone. I'm Cheryl Baldwin, and I am the brand design part of Dream Team. And I've been working with nonprofits and arts organizations for like all of my grown-up life. And it has evolved a lot into just graphic design, into now it's so much bigger part of mission-driven design, working with messaging, working with research, how it all fits together. And so, you know, the way we work with our clients has just really taken all of our skills and applied this to all the things that you do and makes it so possible.
So let's get going.
So we'll just tell you briefly about today's session. A few years before the pandemic would make the cultural arts close its doors to the public, which is devastating to all of us, Dream Team adopted our tagline, Arts and Culture Brands Reimagined. That was our goal, was to take arts organizations through our process to totally reimagine the possibilities of what they could be on their own mission journey.
So when the cultural arts world went quiet, we were all just forced inside and locked up and for the first time in a long time, really had to reimagine our existence, take some risks, and get real about where we were going. So it was a really scary time, but for many of us, it was also a gift, that real chance to take some time and deeply examine our place and the importance of our community.
So you may have found yourself in this place of examination, questioning where to go and how are you going to get there? Some organizations are reopening their doors with full confidence, and others are still searching for validation that they're even moving in the right direction. And so that's why we're here today to help you with these decisions.
So we watched Jessica Davidson's webinar that she did last month, I think, and hope that you all experienced that incredible session that she gave. And we tried to build our workshop off of what her teachings were. She did a fantastic job. She expertly led you through readying your message for reopening. And we're hoping to take you a step beyond just reopening. Today, we're going to build on that work to explore the larger meaning and relevancy of your brand in an almost post-pandemic climate. Fingers crossed.
Yes. And so this is going to be thoughtful work today. It calls for a really open, honest look at your organizational identity and its ability to garner community and donor support. So we're going to draw this direct connection of what a bold brand means to your values and teach you about how to raise your voice with those who are crucial to your success.
So our workshop requires active attention and an upbeat attitude for the next hour or so with us. It's not a check my email on my phone and nod my head along type of thing. We really consider this a high energy ride to understanding and communicating the power of your arts and culture brand.
Yeah, so hopefully you're not going to experience that afternoon slump that you're going into right now. We're going to try to keep you elevated above that.
You guys all have coffee, right?
Right, coffee, tea,
Coffee.
Something. So today's examples are going to teach you how to turn up the volume on your message and be more relevant than ever before to the people who matter to you. And that means we hereby give you permission to throw away all that old junk that doesn't work for you or your audiences. We're going to explain a little bit about that too. That includes all those canned elevator speeches that don't feel genuine, all those unenthusiastic talking points you keep questioning, and hopefully alleviate some of the unrealistic expectations that are thrown your way.
Because branding it's fun. Branding is
It's
super fun. So we're here to allow you to have fun in this work. Our style today and on projects when we work with others is very collaborative, warm, and relaxed.
If you can't tell.
If you can't tell. We have a lot in common with you, and we're coming from the place of passion about our organization, just like you are.
So the learning objectives are up on the screen. I'm not going to read them to you because you have eyes and can read them. Today's workshop will ask questions, share some teaching points, and use visual and written examples. We're also going to provide you with a couple of exercises to help you take the major pieces that we present and click them into place. So when you leave us in 90 minutes, you will own a roadmap to reach brand relevancy for reopening. This webinar takes the top knowledge from our hands-on intensive workshop, which is a 3-hour ordeal.
It's a good ordeal.
It's a great ordeal and it's super fun, but it's hands-on where your people are working with their actual materials. And it breaks it down into tips that you can start implementing today, even though we're not there with you to go back and forth.
But we have been with you on the struggle bus.
Oh my gosh, we've ridden the struggle bus too many times.
And we don't know if it's better to be driving or in the back seat where you can rest. But either way, that's our funny way of just asking, you know, and acknowledging that so many of us are feeling unsure about our brands lately. You're not alone in that. We see 99.9% of our clients struggling with those same communication problems that are fixed with an informed, bold, and consistent brand. It's never been more important, right? So the questions, or how you might be feeling in the questions you're asking yourself, might sound like this. You might be feeling a disconnect somewhere, and that means, you know, you're sitting around asking, do people know who we are? Do they care about us at all? You might be making audience assumptions that are hurting you, and that is doing your communications based on what you're thinking about your audience and the things you think you know about them, but not really what they are thinking about us. We're not informed about how they perceive us. You might also be feeling pressure on all sides, like everybody's got an idea for us. How are we supposed to do all of this? And not all of it is aligned with what we need to do. You might be feeling total disconnect on the inside as well. Are we really on the same page about who we are? And if you're at a place of identity crisis, that sounds like, who are we really? And how do we stand out in the crowd in a place where we might have people doing similar types of stuff? How do we stand out and be special? And underlying all of that struggle is that feeling of money desperation. That's, you fundraisers out there know this if you have that responsibility. It's that never ending quest for cash that just kind of breaks us all down and makes things tougher when we're figuring out our brand. That's
So
why we
hard.
developed this process to give you real answers right now when you need them.
Right. And as Laura just mentioned, all of those things are the standard challenges, but they're all supercharged right now because of COVID. And how you respond to these and the way you respond, it's changing daily. So everyone's feeling that pressure. So I'm going to jump in, and we have this broken out into 3 sections: brand messaging and design, obviously. And I'm going to start with brand research. So the following teaching points present our process for brand research, messaging, and design. We approach every project that we do with these 3 proven strategies. Never do we separate them. No matter who you work with in relation to your brand or communications, we recommend you implement these steps to build a successful brand. And here's why. So as Laura and some other incredibly insightful people say, you are what they think you are. Your brand, your organization, you are what they think you are, not who you think you are. One of our favorite quotes comes from our friend Brian Suey, and the book that he wrote is called Raise Your Voice, A Cause Manifesto. Your cause truly becomes meaningful when your audience says it does and not a moment earlier. And only in-depth research can tell us what's in the minds and the hearts of our audiences and our relevance there. So there's internal and external research. The process of self-discovery is done on the inside and the outside. So understanding your external communication begins looking inward. It begins with your internal organizational culture and the relationships and the goals that you have. And it compares those to the outside looking in. You begin your research by asking the two most important internal branding questions that there are. Do we really know who we are? And do we really know what our audiences think of us? And if you were to do that exercise internally, you might find that you're not all on the same page. To dig deeper, let's look at some questions you could explore through your own surveys or focus groups with your board, your staff, your volunteers, to find out if everyone's on the same page, shares the same beliefs about your organizational culture, and if your brand culture aligns with how your audience perceives you. So here are just some actual questions that you can ask with your own audiences. What 3 words describe our organization or our staff? If our organization was a vehicle, what kind of vehicle would it be? Describe its features. How does it feel to drive? Who does this kind of a vehicle appeal to? Who's driving this thing? And what are the intentions behind our work? What drives our work? This is one of our base questions that we start with on a project. Is your work revenue driven, mission driven, reputation, competition, pressure, politics, all of this? All of it?
That's right.
And sometimes that breaks down into specific projects that have to be revenue driven, even though they're mission driven. What about our organization speaks to diversity, equity, inclusion? Not do we speak to it, but what about our organization speaks to diversity, equity, and inclusion? What about us says, come on in, welcome, we care about you? And what about us says, keep out, or you may not feel good here if you turn that corner and open the door that took you 10 minutes to figure out which was the right one. For brand challenges related to reopening and re-engaging audiences, these questions are even more important to explore right now. They can garner trust, they can tamp down fear, and acknowledge everyone regardless of whether they are ready to come back or they're still waiting it out a bit.
It's a big question mark,
It is a
right?
big
What's going to
question.
happen?
So why does this matter? Doing research actually tells your audience that you care about them, you care about what they think, and you care about how they feel. Just going through the process can reassure them. And right now, it can also remind them of what kind of joy you can bring back into their lives.
So important.
So before you do research, you need to begin with the end in mind. And we have 6 basic steps. I call them the big 6. I'm not going to break them down in a lot of detail. We can send you more on that if you want it. But basically, your steps are this. Set clear objectives. Why are you doing this project? How are you going to use the results to inform your brand? Design your process. Who are you going to collect data from? How are you going to make your research accessible to everyone? And how are you going to analyze and report your data? The third step, which most people think is the first step, everyone seems to want to start here in every project that we do, is create questions. What data do we actually need? And there's 4 basic kinds of data. If any of you took my NAMP workshop a couple of years ago in Memphis, knowledge, opinion, behavior, attributes are the 4 kinds of data. We could do an entire workshop on those 4 words, which we will not do, but we can send it to you. Collect data is the next step. Analyze your results. And this is the number 6 of the big 6 is the one that people tend to forget. Close the loop. When you do research of any kind, thank and acknowledge people's input. Tell them that they've been heard. Show them that you've applied what you learned from their input.
There's a lot of times we get asked surveys and then we don't know what they've done with
We
the
have
answers,
no
right?
idea.
Never.
How
If
many
we
times-
helped them, right?
Right. Did it work? Did my answer matter?
Right, where did
it help
where
you?
did that go?
Right.
And that's
Use it.
as simple as putting that information in a newsletter and thanking
Letting
those
them
folks who
know.
did the survey. And here's how it
Yeah.
informed us. And we made this decision because you shared your insight.
Because you're important. You're important.
So let's consider some sample survey questions. We wrote these out for you so you can understand how we would look at things from the audience point of view. These questions are questions you'd ask, for instance, if you were going to ask an audience if they mostly agree or mostly disagree with something. And
Like on a scale.
prompt them,
On
yeah, on
a
a
scale.
scale.
Okay.
and then I'm going to transition what those regular branding questions are into the COVID world. Like, how does that translate right now into pandemic focus? So we're just making up an imaginary arts group called Artworks.
I like them.
So I'm just going to give you 4 examples. Example 1, Artworks has kept me well informed about what's going on. But mostly agree, mostly disagree. How that translates in the COVID world is this question is especially relevant right now to understand how they feel about you and how you've been communicating with them and served them through the pandemic. I feel like I belong when I engage with Artworks. Translation, I trust this organization to keep me safe because they've cared about me in the past and they've treated me well. I'm part of their family.
Wow.
The
Hey
third
there.
is,
I'm sorry, Surale, your slides aren't progressing?
Oh, they're
Oh,
not supposed.
they're not supposed
They're
to.
not.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, sorry about that. Please continue.
I feel heard, helped, or inspired by Artworks. That translates into you've acknowledged their fears, you've made your health and safety measures clear and transparent, and you're reminding them of what they've been missing. And the last is the programs at Artworks are accessible to me or my family. And this means you've offered a variety of ways for them to participate through the pandemic that have made your programs accessible. So think about what else you might want to ask your patrons to understand their experience with you. And right now, how that experience may have evolved, changed, or needs to be brought back in. So the one research tip I'm going to leave you with is don't assume you know who your audience is. Really, really find out. There is no doubt that you have different audience segments. You have members, you have donors, you have subscribers. But your brand needs to convey one bold, compelling message that speaks to all of them. So for every question you plan to ask an audience member, please ask yourself, how can we use what we learned to inform and build a more representative and relevant brand? So I just want to stop for 1 second. These notes we can make available to Ma or to distribute so that if you didn't have time to take notes on those big 6, for example, share this with you.
We understand this is a lot of information you're receiving in a short amount of
So
time.
just take it in.
Yes. So what we're hoping is that you can sit back and just kind of contemplate right now and not worry too much.
Right.
Just engage from a listening and thinking perspective, and you can get the follow-up notes because I know those are the things you might be trying to take down to inform what you want to do,
Right.
but you will get that information.
And we're not slide readers.
Right.
So-
Right.
Also, I just wanted to say, Surale, I think that, and I can say for myself and probably Cheryl too, when we were first learning more about the world of research, it's very intimidating and can be daunting. And most of us don't know where to start. And we also have the perception that if we're a small organization with a small budget, research is out of the question for us. And we just want to say that that's not so. You will be able to find good support out there, but we want you to have the basics. So just being aware that you can ask, it's a good thing to ask your audience, your donors, these personal questions. They feel valued, and it also increases the strength of the bond you have with them. So it's a great place to start. Now, I'm going to take you into our next section, which is about brand messaging. That's what I do and love for this team. We have a saying, if you really want to change the world with art, you better step up and step out, because people don't respond to meek messages. They want inspiration, they want belonging and meaning. So let's give them what they want. So we have put together some points we call the Dream Team Truth. And these we have proven time and again in our work over the decades and then through this process to get you to a bold, relevant brand. And we believe in them so much, we would die on this hill.
In the
here-
struggle bus.
yeah,
no laugh.
it's crashing in the struggle bus on the
Mhm.
hill. So these you can jot down real fast or just take them in. But what makes you different makes you desirable. I think most of us know this. We're just trying to find it, right? But this is your superpower. It's your secret sauce. When you're talking and communicating, talk to the one, not the 100. That means talk in your communications like you are conversing with an individual, not trying to talk to a massive crowd of folks.
Like you're just having a conversation with somebody.
Like
and
we
it's
are with
personal.
you.
It makes it more personal.
Right? Even
Yeah.
though we're a large group today, we want to connect on an individual basis.
Right.
And part of doing that is to eliminate your jargon, talk like a real person, not a robot. So we're going to shock you a little bit here
Yeah.
for a second. I'm sorry to do this, but we all need it. So if you have any of these words, terms, or tools that you're leaning on too much in your primary messaging, just put it down and back away. And that is overuse of the words like impact, innovative, transformative. We love those
Quality.
words, but when we use them too much, they totally lose their significance. So choose them carefully, like it's the caviar, it's the garnish on the platter. Again, that technical data, industry jargon, meaningless language that we're used to using on our teams in the collections hall and so forth, that doesn't belong in your normal communications. Other
No.
people don't get it.
And because if you don't talk like that, you want to.
Be human.
Yes.
And are you vulnerable and likable? We go to the church of Brene Brown. We love what she has to say
The
about
queen of vulnerability.
Yes, about what it means to open up and share and really invite people in to take part of who you are and that reciprocity. So you want to build a human quality into those communications. Tell a great story. Now, storytelling is big in our field right now, but how do you really do it well? But what I want you to know is that people are naturally wired to relax and listen when you say the words, "Let me tell you a story."
It's science.
It is. There's a psychological science behind it. But what it does is open up the people that you're trying to reach and put them in a receptive mood. They're expecting to hear and receive what you have to tell them. So next, successful brands connect the community to your cause first, not to your programs or even your organization. This one takes a big mind shift, and a lot of us don't even realize we're really leading with our programs and our communications as opposed to what we stand for. So that's a big mistake. We need to make that shift.
That's one of the things that we really probably spend
We do.
the
most
most
time
time
on.
talking to people at the beginning of this process, because they think, but I run art camps for children
Yes.
and I teach a pottery class and I've got continuing education, and those are all fabulous
We have
things.
a core
Yes.
music series.
We need to tell people what we do.
Right.
But first, you need to tell them
But why is that important?
why
Right.
it matters.
Yeah.
Exactly. And people, again, when you're talking to them, they respond to people and how the programs are affecting people, not the programs themselves. So remember, people respond to people, and they respond to one, not many. Now that's different from what we were talking about before, but here we're talking about picture images on some of your most important information. One face and one life, your audience, your donors, they can connect and engage and help them. But if we're presenting them with a lot of need, a lot of people, we as donors on the outside or potential supporters can get really overwhelmed by that and lost. So give them one great smile, one great story, and we all can say, okay, now I get it. I see what a difference made for that person. I can help one person.
Yeah.
Successful brands make emotional connections because people make emotional decisions based on how we feel. And we use our minds too, but when we talk about brands and the ones we like and the ones we have great affinity with, it's because they make us feel
You
something,
feel something.
We're
right?
the ones we don't like.
Oh, yeah, it works
Right.
both ways.
Yep.
You're going to buy a car. A lot is going to be what can you afford, but you want to get the best of what it's going to make you feel when you're having to pay for that car, right?
Mhm.
And people also join causes that reflect on who they are, who they want to be, or how they want to be perceived by others.
Mm.
So remember, and don't discount that self-interest is a major attraction to your brand and your mission. If they feel aligned with you and see themselves in you, it's a reflection on them. They want to be a part of you. So here's the golden rule to all of that truth. It's not about us and our organizations. It's all about them. It's not about our institution and talking about us and our staff and everything we've done, but it's about how our work moves people. And if we represent something that they really personally want to be part of. So to wrap all that up, in a messaging tip, the first thing we try to help people do in their message is stop talking about yourself as those programs and come out strong on your cause and higher purpose. Impart your higher purpose. Your arts mission is a cause. Most of the time, we in the arts don't think of ourselves as a cause like hunger or poverty or other health issues. But the arts are powerful. Your cause is powerful. It makes people feel something.
Right.
So here's a tip that I'll leave you with on the other tip. So if you're struggling, right? Another tip. If you're struggling how to convey that higher purpose, especially after we've all been through a year of a lot of hard and honest examination, just ask yourself why your organization exists. What was it founded to do?
That's a really big question.
Yeah. And some of you may find that your mission isn't really the same anymore. And that through asking these questions, you're going to get back to the heart of what you do. You're going to ask yourself what you really do.
Mhm.
And here's that hint. It's not managing collections. It's not giving tours or offering performances. It's creating transcendent experiences. It's forming community. It's connecting and healing through art and music, or carving out space for everyone to belong. That's what a message should do for you.
So we've learned about research and we've learned about messaging. And then the third part of this is brand design. And, this means so many things to people, but your brand, it's so much more than your logo. A great visual brand design creates the outward representation of your culture, your beliefs, and the experiences you provide. Your brand should express your unique identity. You want it to spark emotion in your followers, and it wants to move people. You want to move people to action. So we have a concept that we like to describe brand in an overall way is we like to think about your brand as your name tag to the world, the way you distinguish yourself from others and the impression that's formed from interacting with you. And this is a great concept to help you think about how others are seeing you and viewing your brand, especially on your first impressions. When you first meet someone, you're making some instant assumptions. When you've seen logos, you've seen great ones and automatically been, I don't know what that is, but that's a great logo. Or I don't know what that is, but that is a horrible logo. It just happens instantly. We do that. We can't unsee the horrible things. I'm constantly sending these two pictures of you're not going to believe how bad this is, and sending them things. So again, this is a great way to help you start reimagining your brand. If you feel you're not being represented in your most powerful way, I want you to think about how you want your first impression to be received. So in talking about the logo, it is usually the first encounter with your brand, and it's what identifies your organization in really the simplest, most basic form, either through a mark or an icon. And it goes without saying that your logo should definitely appear on everything that you produce, from your email signatures to your annual reports. Please have your logo on everything so they know it's you. So I want you all to take a look at the logos on the screen, and they're obviously extremely instantly recognizable. We've got Nike, McDonald's, Apple, and Facebook. And who are they and why are they so familiar? You know, they are extremely professional. Their logos appear on everything. Their message is consistent. You never sort of wonder, who is that an ad for? You know, it's an ad for McDonald's, right? Whose commercial is that? That
And
definitely
you know
looks
what
like,
you're going to get at McDonald's.
and you know what you're going
Right.
to get, no matter what
Love it or
McDonald's,
hate it.
whatever McDonald's you go to, those French fries are going to taste the same, right? And they're delicious. So I want you to do a quick exercise. I want you to think about your own logo. Take a look at your organization's logo. How many elements do you have? Is it busy? You know, truly minimal, less is more. So minimal is best. A lot of logos and organizations will have their tagline as part of their logo unit, and not a great idea for many reasons. And we're going to talk about that more a little bit later, but you want to uncouple that. You want your logo and your tagline will appear together on everything that you do, but it doesn't have to be one unit. When you scale things down on your business card, I'm sure we've all experienced this, then you can't read it anymore. It's too teeny tiny. And we want you all to have amazing taglines that are read. We're going to talk about that later too, aren't we?
They're
Okay.
fun.
Tagline fun.
Tagline fun. And then also think about your logo being able to transfer well in black and white. So we're no longer faxing, thank God. But occasionally, I don't know, maybe somebody's making a photocopy of a brochure you've got. It needs to translate into black and white so it's still readable, and it's, you know, you're not losing your brand there. So your logo is then part of your visual identity, and the visual identity consists of the artistic elements that make up the overall visual brand design. And after developing, you've got a strong logo, you really want to make sure that your identity, it's properly built out to create visual consistency throughout all the pieces that you're doing. And we're going to show you some real life examples of this later, but just as an overview, you know, this visual identity, it's different variations on your logo. Some organizations have a horizontal and a vertical. Some have more of a sub-brands of logos. You want your color palette. You want your fonts, and you want all of your graphic elements, and you want all of this built out that's going to then become a brand book that either whoever's outside your organization is working on these pieces and has a toolkit, or if you're inside your organization, you've got this brand book, and that you're not making guesses about colors and fonts. And that means whoever is creating this and sending it out, it's all completely consistent. So think about all of these important points when you're reimagining how your brand is going to connect, and make sure, because it's so critical to maintaining your consistencies. So obviously large companies with big budgets, right? We've got Apple, Nike, Facebook, McDonald's. You
So we
think,
could hear y'all eye rolling in the background.
you're like, yeah,
We don't have that kind of money.
they've got
Are you kidding?
billions.
Sure they do.
They really have billions. But they are not the only ones who can create memorable brands and build trust. If you stay consistent, clear, and compelling, you're going to have a roadmap for consistency, from the brand guide to the messaging, based on all of this research that you're using to move forward. And we're going to show you later on, and here's some real life examples of arts organizations that do not have billion-dollar budgets, and they still look really professional. So I'd like to leave you with this number one design tip, that less is more, and to be consistent. if you carry your color palette, your fonts, your graphic elements, or everything you create, you will build a memorable brand to be really proud of.
So now that we've covered all these must-do basics of a good, bold brand, we're asking, are you ready to really break through?
Are you ready?
Because here's where the magic happens. If you want to own a brand that really breaks through barriers, your culture and your communications must be bold and captivating, and again, human. So let's be bold. No one ever followed a cause because it was boring and safe. Patrons aren't moved by a passionless plea. Only the brave out there are going to win a place in the hearts of the people. So get ready to stake your claim.
Oh, so important.
Now, we have chosen a focus of a few certain clients today so that we could share their stories with you and how they worked out some of these issues along their way in the process. So we're going to introduce you to an organization called Resource Depot. Very quickly, they're a local arts, resource and environmental place in our community that really was suffering from just being known as a free teacher supply store or a place where artists could pick up supplies, but they were so much more than that. And they knew they wanted to grow, but being bold and relevant and building a following takes overcoming a lot of fear and our usual ways of doing things. So leaving behind, the way we've always talked and informed people takes a lot of courage. And so they knew they were at the point where they had to say, we don't need to tell people what we're doing. We need to tell them what we believe in. So let me tell you a story. I'm
ready.
Ready to receive. So when the young visionary executive director of Resource Depot came to our team and wanted to make this major shift in direction on their 20th anniversary, she really was saying, okay, we still want to be what people know us for, but we also want to be the place they're now coming to make a major life change and a shift in their consumerism and how they approach community. So she said, I want to write a manifesto. So we helped her with that. And so what you see there became part of a campaign. It's the Enough campaign. So we've built a lot of other things around this, but this is where it began, with just getting the words down. And enough means several things here. I'm going to take just a second and read a few points. Enough is in enough already. And that's where we say we've had it with being wasteful and all of this excess and doing what we want with this catastrophic cost to others in the earth. Enough is in there's plenty. We already have so much that lasts, and it can last forever. And everybody can have enough if we just share. And let's get back to cherishing objects that mean something to us and tell a story. And then there's also enough in what sustains us, because life gives us enough. And if we focus on what truly matters, right? Time, thoughts, relationships, those are our greatest possessions. We focus on that, live simply, we can shape a fair society. And you see at the very end, it follows up with a way that people can take their stand. This is really the call to action here. And it just spells out the ways that people can really follow this new culture and be part of it.
This is really a good example of we are not our programs.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
because we are not the place to drop your stuff off. We are not the place to pick up supplies for a project.
Yep.
We are so much bigger than that. We are all about saving the planet.
And that exists. But, remember when we were helping them put out their new collaterals, and there was this big shift from, well, don't we put our hours and our phone
Right.
number? And when they drop off donations, we're like, no, we don't.
They can get that
Cramming-
information anywhere.
Cramming it all
Yeah.
on one piece.
Yeah.
Right. We're talking about why we exist. So that's another part of building a good communications and brand process for yourselves, is to know where and how to use your collateral so that they all
Mhm.
support each other, but
Mhm.
lead with what you believe in, right?
Yeah.
That's how you get followers. So we have on the screen now how this carried over into a really important donor piece. And your case for support is such a meaningful call to action, getting it in the hands of the right people. But again, this is an environmental agency that really says, we don't print things. We don't operate that way.
But that's using paper.
Yes, it's using
And it's
paper
expensive.
and it's using money and all these things we don't believe in. But they understood that they needed this piece like this. So what you see here in this story is that we owned the fact that they knew people were going to be questioning just the fact that they printed a piece like this. But it is so impactful as far as the meaning and the introduction of their new vision that it came out and followed just beautifully with their brand. So why is it important to be bold and fearless right now? Because building your brand is really about building your relationships and followers. So think about that through the last year, especially if you didn't feel like you had that connection prior to the COVID years. How do you want to find that now? So find those true believers who want to champion, be part of, and fund your work through great brand alignment and storytelling of your vision like this.
They were so bold.
Yeah.
They have continued to be bold
And I
even
need
when
to
they're
point out
scared.
that Resource Depot and the other examples that we're going to cover are all small to medium-sized organizations.
Yes.
None of these have excess resources just floating around.
But huge vision, like many
Huge
of
vision.
you who want to realize that vision. So after we've been bold,
Then you really want to be captivating. Captivating. We want you to punch through the predictable, speak the language, leave indelible marks in the mind, and give them extraordinary and keep them coming back for more. What does that look like? We have a client, it does look like Art Life. We have a client here in South Florida, Art Life West Palm Beach. And it is the Reimagine program for arts in public places for the city of West Palm Beach. And they've always done an amazing job of bringing art to neighborhoods and developments, but they were simply viewed as just another government division and had no brand. They had a page on the local website.
Buried like 3 layers down.
AIPP.
AIPP.
They were known as AIPP. So we worked with them to create a meaningful name, which is a big decision, and then develop a captivating brand to showcase who they are. And we did that through, started with our research, developed the logo and this graphic artwork. It carries through fresh citrus and bright colors, represents a vibrant and alluring image of a real destination city and the openness of its creative process. And then what we wanted to do is we wanted to carry this through all of their subsequent collateral materials coming out of the program, even on pieces that might traditionally not be quite so exciting. So on the left, you see a fully designed and branded master plan. And a lot of our organizations need to do these types of plans. And, honestly, a lot of times it's just like a Word document that's submitted to a committee or something. But you can do so much more with it when it's presented in a more captivating way. It becomes, something that you're really enjoying reading about and looking through, and it really elevates it. And then same goes for on the right, you see the infographic, and this explains the process for securing art projects. So it's really just taking that visual brand and translating it into ways that you might not have imagined before to make really a compelling document.
And just to underscore that again, from the messaging perspective, it's really the research we went through and spending time with this organization that informs the words and the message that come about. We don't just make this up for people. It comes from them. It comes from who you are.
It's magic.
We all wish, right? And that magic wand, we all want it for things like this. But I just want you to know that anybody can get to this because the answers are within you. It's not from a team like ours or anybody else you're working with. So some of the words that they chose that were just so vibrant and very strong, right, in what they're telling people, that their mission is to shape the character of the city through the power of public art. That is a pretty powerful statement, and including everybody in that creative force. Even your boilerplate can be powerful. You know, that recommended thing we have to put at the end of a press release or on a grant. But here theirs is different. Okay, the first line, cut and dry, yes. Art Life is the public program of the city, blah, blah, blah. Second sentence, Art Life projects capture the diverse contemporary beat and rich history that make West Palm Beach a destination city. One sentence captures it all, mic drop, they're done. They got there.
Wow, that's a lot better than an like a hidden web page on the internet.
Yeah.
They're like real people right now. So we've been bold and we've been captivating. Next, we want to
Be human, right? You've heard this before. We're saying it again, because nothing, we so believe this, and this is why we love what you all do out there. Nothing connects people like the cultural arts. It's such an open opportunity for us to grow and find meaning. And few things out there possess the wonder to stir us that way. So we are asking you today, again, be fearless, cross the divide, bare your soul to those other people out there so you can build your believers. Now, we're going to introduce you again to one of the other projects we're going to spend time with today as great examples. Now, this is Bush Wildlife Sanctuary. And they didn't always look this bright and fresh. The sanctuary considers their land not just a refuge for local animals, but for people as well. So here's why we're using them as an example of being human, right? They needed to make this connection on a deeper level. It called for bringing this aspect of human interaction with animals, our natural love and desire to bond with them and be around them. That's what was missing. So through our research process with them, we found this amazing focus on how they nurtured native Florida animals and plants. That's all they did. Had to be indigenous, but they also wanted to nurture people the same way. That's how we created the niche. And so when we had fun with the tagline where native is nurtured, it really came alive.
so
And
great.
so you see how we built that out, right? Furthering it into the slogan of Meet the Locals, which are those really captivating, amazing animals. And so that made the sanctuary a standout for people trying to consider, well, which wildlife park am I
Right.
going to choose to go to? Because there are
People
3 or
confuse
4
them with
around
the zoo
here.
and Lion Country Safari.
Right?
Is that
Many
Lion
of you
Country
have
Safari?
several out there. So this is what made the difference for them.
Maybe our most fun client meeting
Could
because
be.
we did walk the cages.
We got to hold the animals.
It was pretty incredible.
Okay, so now that you've learned some of the basics and how to break through, here's the part that everyone likes the most. The makeover! We're going to take you through a couple of case studies that incorporate bold, captivating, and human brand development. Through this process, these organizations now speak in their most authentic, inviting, and inclusive voice.
So we are going to use this great organization for several examples of research-inspired visual and written branding. But first, the story.
The whole package.
Yeah, this one's really fun.
And we should start by saying that this is a co-founder led organization.
Yes. So remember we talked about fear? We had founders involved here who, so when you know how hard it is to let go of something, here's a great example.
And they live to tell about
They
it.
did, and they
have 87 programs.
They love it. So after 17 years, this small Los Angeles theater, which was called CRE Outreach, was at a critical juncture in their growth journey. They have this marvelous niche program that provides creative theater access to disabled, to veterans, to low-income youth.
They have theater and film for the blind.
Yes, that's right. And they were moving toward not just a rebrand, but a name change. And so there was a lot there that was anxiety producing to them. A lot.
Huge.
How are they going to solve a name and identity crisis at the same time to build a larger community while still retaining those really devoted, that core of people there for a long time who felt like family? Many of you understand this.
Yeah.
So the challenge here wasn't a problem with lack of focus on their part, lack of passion or capacity or desire to grow, but there was just such a disconnect they'd realized between their brand's really flat, ambiguous persona and the infectious drive of their people, programs, and followers. So it was important to capture how trailblazing they were and to break down any remaining barriers to diversity, equality, and participation on their stage.
You know, I wanted to say that I'm thinking about how different it was when we first met them. And they were almost ashamed, embarrassed, uncomfortable to say CRE outreach.
They were.
Because
You're right.
they knew people were saying, what? What's that? And then not that your organization's name, you want it to say exactly what you do in your name. It has to tell the whole story, but they were like ashamed.
Yeah.
Like they had to explain every single time.
They're like, oh, CRE.
Yeah. And I think he actually said, I hate our brand so much, I want to throw it on the ground and stomp on it.
He was the one who said that. Yeah.
So if you're like uncomfortable talking about your organization, like it's one thing, a new logo is really important, but you may need a new name. We want you to be really excited about saying who you are. So, all right, continue.
You go, Cheryl.
Sorry.
I'll go. Okay. So we developed this, we did the research, we started digging into all this stuff. We came up with this new name for them, and then we really got to work. So the research, everything that we did with them really revealed their true personality. And we were determined that we had to bring out their undeniable energy, how caring they were, and their artistic edge. And that's where we came up with this new name of Arts Up LA, which then they were so excited. You'd say, what's your new name? And they'd say, Arts Up LA.
Yeah. What's up? Arts Up.
Yeah.
That's
Every
like
time we get
their-
on the phone with them, we had a back and forth.
And that's
like,
their
And
rally
they do
cry.
it with their audiences
Yeah.
now. They all
Exactly.
have great shows with
Every
what's
production.
up?
Arts
Arts
Up.
Up.
So
So they went from terrified.
terrified to
Jubilant.
excited.
Jubilant.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when we built out the brand, as you can see, some of the brand elements here, part of the identity that we talked about, it's a genuine reflection of their resolve to change how the arts are presented and to be experienced. And this concept was the basis of their new brand, with the amazing tagline of unlimited possibilities. And the letters UP, up, are reflected in the logo itself.
You know, their tagline was so interesting because this came from, the story behind it's interesting because the research, they were saying, we don't tell any of our actors no when they come forward with
We
an
say
idea.
yes.
We say yes, and we say
Every
yes
time.
every time. So that led us to unlimited possibilities. On its own, it could belong in a lot of ways, but it's intentionally infused right into the logo to make it an exceptional logo instead. The unexceptional one they came from, transforming lives one show at a time. So you can see it's not
fine.
bad.
It's fine.
It's not bad. We see that in use a lot. There's some meaning there, but it's not particular. It wasn't
To
particular
them.
to who they were. So we want to just talk a little bit about taglines, and we bring some of those messaging ideas back under this example. So taglines are really tricky, right? And so what does your tagline say about you? And could it work for any other industry or organization? That's a question to ask yourself. If so, update. Here are some examples. And if you hear any of this that sounds familiar to you in your own, you probably figure out that you've got a little work to do to spice that up. So award-winning performance. Imagine, create, inspire. We love those 3-word things.
They're great.
But
They're
you know,
great.
but we can do better, right?
Right.
Art for one, art for
That's
all.
a given.
We're supposed to be creative, right? History happens here. That I might have that might be from my past, actually, somewhere, somebody I worked with. A zoo for you, you know, so they're fine. They're fine. But it's not based on the informed amount of
They're
work,
not a cause.
right? And to bring out
Right.
who you really are. Is it speaking to your higher purpose? So, a little bit more about the missions and other key messaging core values that go along with building these great brands. Or, as I like to say, another way to ask it, do you sound like the bank down the street? With the exception of a few words, could your current mission work for somebody else? So here's where you sit back and listen. Don't read the screen, even though you probably already started. But sit back and listen to this mission. Arts Up LA is a bridge between professional theater and overlooked communities. Our stage ignites artistic expression, fosters human connection, illuminates understanding, and brings diverse artists and audiences of all mind, body, and life experiences into a shared place of unlimited possibility.
I don't think that's the bank.
I don't think it's the bank.
I don't think
It's
so.
authentic, individual, and totally genuine. And even though it has a little length on it, it is alive with the magic of who they are. So when we're talking about core values, those are those things where if you've got some examples of the oh so obvious, like if you've chosen integrity, stewardship, transparency, quality, excellence, any of those kinds of words, and you recognize those, we're here to tell you, you are better than that.
We would just hopefully assume that you're all of those
Right?
things.
Because those common attributes are already expected of you. You better already have these down just to be in business as an arts organization. You don't need to say them again. The public already believes your mission is helpful, truthful, and legal, right? So tell them what you really do. Remember, we talked about that. So to really find your values, here are the things to ask yourself. What do we stand for? What do we believe in? How do we see or do things differently?
Our next example of a case study before and after is for Maplewood Playhouse. And this small community theater wasn't small at all in its ideas, that the stage allows actors to explore life while learning the craft and encourages growth in a safe and open space. And their focus is inspiring participants to care for the community and engage in social issues through the stories that they present. And the theater also hosts a more traditional children's program while still instilling the same social focus of exploration and acceptance within a supportive, sharing environment. So our challenge for them was that Maplewood Playhouse is playing in a crowded space down here in South Florida with lots and lots of community theaters. But it was very different in its philosophy, which really deserved the center stage spotlight. So on the left, you can see their old logo, which was pretty outdated and a little childish, and it just was not coming close to representing its forward-thinking focus on personal growth that happens during acting and performance. And they also had a really stale tagline, which you'll see in a minute, that did not distinguish their unique outlook for promoting inclusive and socially conscious programming that, again, nurtures personal, professional, and social growth. So we built out the brand, again, logo, build it out into the identity. And these are elements that you get in a brand book that you want to have as your tool in your toolkit. And we were inspired by the seeds, growth, and strength of their namesake maple tree, which is what they were named after, and used a visual direction of bold, fresh colors and graphics. And we brought this new life and power to the, like kind of a traditional take on theater. And we used chunky letters and fun fonts and brought together some, we like to call them playbill-worthy headlines into play. And Laura, tell them about what we did for the messaging for this.
So direct cause-driven language brought their mission and message forth to really inspire folks. And they landed on a statement that was really powerful. We cultivate community theater for actors and audiences that nurtures creative intelligence, personal growth, and an enlightened appreciation of art, self, and others. So it really captured again their higher purpose and their personality. You instantly knew kind of what to expect when you have an experience with them. Their former tag, again, fine, empowering and enriching the community through theater. I think we see taglines written out like that a good bit.
Yeah.
Their new one, though, reflecting what they really believe, growing better actors, better people. It has that wonderful socially conscious part about it, bettering the community.
It's so much different. It really, really is. Okay, so our last example of a case study that we want to share with you is Bush Wildlife, who we introduced you to earlier when we were talking about being being human, sorry. So here's going from vague to visionary. So we started working with Bush Wildlife, and they needed a transformation, but the organization had recently adopted the black and white logo that you see on the top left. And so they were in no position to do a full rebrand with a brand new logo. So we did a brand refresh. And it allowed them to fully build out the brand that they needed. Again, we built them, the brand guide with the fonts, the colors, the elements, and refining their logo. And then we brought in the fresh, warm color palette, and it really made all the difference.
And again, just a little more about bringing this brand to full realization. We got rid of the muddled messaging. You can see in the before there was a lot of clutter. There was a lack of focus on how they were communicating with their audiences. So it left a lot of room to create a distinct brand for both their visitors and their members who were their donors here. So the challenge, again, just uncovering and defining that unique voice that landed on that where Native is nurtured, really building that culture. So breaking through again for them and making that sanctuary stand out was that human element that brought all of this amazing, fresh appeal, but really connects you to the cause, which are those amazing animals. So people really responded to this, and lots of new donors, engagement with their research hospital.
Yep.
So in reviewing all of these brands, you can see how the consistency that was developed and continues to be carried through everything they do. Now, as Cheryl introduced you, those big budget, people of Apple, Facebook, McDonald's, and Nike, we don't have those budgets, but we can have brands that are just as professional and memorable when they have this consistency with them.
Yeah.
Very quickly, because we're going into time that we want to leave for questions, we just wanted you to see how the important features of your brand can attract more believers and people who support your mission with their money. So Resource Depot, again, we wanted to show you how they brought their fun and witty style into the fundraising realm. Their patrons really, really loved how connected they felt through this to that down-to-earth personality. And all of these really well-crafted images, the language, gave their first ever annual campaign, which they put around Earth Day, a really big boost and raised awareness and donations.
We had so much fun with
We
it.
did. Mama Earth and all the nagging things she tells you to do. We all need to hear it right now.
Yep.
So we've shared a lot of information with you today that we hope will inform you and inspire you about ways you can improve the relevancy of your own brand within your community and moving forward confidently towards your new future. So here are just a few prompts for further thought. Did you identify with the most common brand problems that might stand between you and your public? I hope you made a lot of notes around that. Cheryl, you got the next one?
Is your current message conveying to your community that an experience of meaning and trust awaits them?
And what do you want to do differently to show returning patrons that you hear, understand, and appreciate them.
And probably most simply and importantly, based on everything that you've heard today, you know, how could you reimagine your brand from what you've discovered today?
So what now? If today you did discover that your brand is not where you want it to be, we offer these 5 things to quickly get real, relevant, and right now. So here's the recap. Ask yourself this basic research question and actively respond. What does our audience think of us? Remember, you can do this in a simple survey on your own, even through your next newsletter. Simplify your brand's design and messaging, keeping the guidelines of bold, captivating, and human in mind. Again, talk about yourself as a cause. Promote meaning and belonging first. Then support that by eliminating meaningless language that gets in the way and clouds your higher purpose. That could be always having your hours and phone number in places it doesn't need to be. Align your internal culture and your communication, because you can't be consistent in the way you're speaking to people on the outside of your organization if you're not consistent on the inside first. So that brings us to the point where we get to really say thank you for having us with you today. It's been wonderful to share with you. And I think we've got some questions in the chat we might want to be able to answer, and also open up for any questions you have. We'll try to be as specific as we can today. If we need more information, we will ask for a copy of the things in chat and try to get back to folks if we don't have time today.
I think Karis is, well, one, thank you so much. That was amazing. And I have to tell you, I felt a little bit like I was at a talk show in all the right ways. The way that you interact with each other, I thought, like, where's my tea? Like, where's my tea? Where's my little silky robe? This is going to be amazing.
This is what it's like working with us.
What you get.
Right? And if you call in the next 5 minutes,
that's all that's left. I know that there's some questions in the chat, and I think Karis has been keeping track. So Karis, I'm going to turn it over to you to share out.
A few. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can.
All righty. So one of the first questions I have is it was earlier in the presentation, and you may have addressed it. We have offered surveys through email, at concerts, on paper, and through Facebook with little or no response. How can we increase response numbers?
Okay, so the first thing is to definitely offer an incentive. And you can't give everybody a gift card for $100, but you can do a drawing for a gift card for $100 in most places where that's generally legal to do. The other thing is you can offer small incentives. I had a symphony client that just did an incentive where they offered the first 30 people that took the survey a box of chocolates from the local chocolatier who happened to be a board member. And so they got the gifted chocolate boxes. And by offering like a prize for the first certain number of people that take your survey, you get people to charge the gate. Like you get a big rush in the beginning, and then you can.
What about if you do like a focus group versus like an emailed one? Do you have a better chance of getting good responses?
Yeah, they're very different methods. Focus groups, you have, if you're doing them via Zoom, you really don't want more than 6 people in your focus group, and you can honor people's time that way. We usually pay $100 for somebody to participate in an hour, 75-minute focus group. And if it's a one-on-one interview, we offer them $50 because they really then are committed. They're sharing their thoughts. They're sharing their time.
Awesome.
Yep.
Hope that helps.
Hope that helps.
So I have a question in the chat. It says, I wonder if you've worked with any BIPOC-led groups. Were there any represented in your examples? And could you probably speak to that branding experience?
Not BIPOC led through Dream Team specifically, but very culturally and racially diverse. So in each of our individual businesses, because we are 3 that came together under Dream Team, but Cheryl has Sweet Boo and she does design work on her own. Laura has Sharp 11. She does writing and messaging on her own. And I have Surale Phillips doing research. And I've worked for BIPOC-led organizations in the research world.
So outside of arts and culture, a lot of
Yeah.
organizations that are health human services, community development type organizations. So very, very diverse organizations working through racial equity right now, building systems change, et cetera. But yeah, that has its own really important challenges and considerations in messaging as well.
Can you speak to a few of those, what they might be?
I would say that right now, one of the things that first comes to mind for one of the projects, again, this isn't an arts organization, but the process applies. We have an organization that through COVID, they serve traumatized children in our community. And of course, that's a diverse community, but it's our lower income folks who have been most impacted here. When COVID hit, the rates of abuse and trauma on children skyrocketed. And even the practitioners were having a very difficult time relaying the severity of what was happening across the board. But they are so well trained ahead of time, related to being very culturally sensitive, economically sensitive. They're kind of leaders in also speaking to this in the community. We were able to very specifically take that and message out how this organization was on the front lines and they were an open 24/7 for families as they were needed. So there was a lot of sensitivity that needed to occur because again, this trauma and it's also health and it's very personal. So what we did though was provide a lot of free information. So we're fortunate that we had the knowledge and background of how to speak correctly and be there for people, but we opened it up and gave it for free, constantly producing information so that parents were equipped, teachers were equipped. So it was a lot. I don't know if that answered it specifically, but that was just a lot we went through related to.
Yeah, I have one other brief example. Through my work with Wolf Brown's Audience Outlook Monitor project, I do the qualitative research for that team. And we worked with True Colors in Atlanta, which is a Black theater company. And we looked at the research results through a very different lens because the responses were quite different with regard to people's reluctance to get vaccinated. And so the communication strategies and the messaging strategies that came through research were very different for that organization. And I would imagine other BIPOC-led organizations than they were for traditionally white organizations.
That's great because
Good
you're
question.
speaking
Thank
to,
you.
yeah, that was great. Thank you.
Really
I think it was
important.
Sharon
Thank you.
of Art Ventures. Thank you for that answer. We did have a question from William Lyons. And
Hello.
there you go, William.
Hi.
Hi. My question is about branding, because I know we've, in the examples you gave a lot that the branding that you were assisting agencies with working with was really to reach their audience and things like that. And I like the example where you gave about Bush and how they had already gone through a process of branding and was like, well, we just invested all this time, we don't want to do a total refresh. And I'm wondering if you could share more about if you came across conflict. So if a branding idea resonated with the target audience, but maybe had not resonated or conflicted with ideas, beliefs about the actual funders or donors who might be looking to donate.
I have no idea what you're talking about with problems in different audience. Does anyone understand this
William,
language?
there hasn't been one where there isn't conflict because but you work through it. It's
The struggle bus takes
struggle
off.
bus.
We could write a book, right?
We could. The first thing I would probably say is if you go back to what we sort of wove through the presentation, starting with the research and everything. It's not about us, it's about them. So, you know, working with organizations, you know, our nonprofits, our arts and culture, there's always boards and donors and funders, right? They are not the best decision makers for what necessarily a brand should be.
Right.
Because they don't get it. They're not out there. They're not the people that we're trying to appeal to. So a lot of times, honestly, we have an education process where we need to talk people off the ledge, which we have done more than once because they're afraid because, oh, you want to try something that's too bold, but we've never done that before. Exactly. Right.
It's hard.
Exactly.
It's tough.
So it's such a good question. And so
Well-
do we run into that all the
Yeah.
time?
Yeah. So we also make organizations go through a readiness assessment to make
Yeah.
sure they're really ready to do this
Mhm.
work because it is hard.
It's challenging.
And every board member, every volunteer, every staff is involved in sort of a buy-in process. And then they hand over a core team that they are sanctioning to say, we trust this team is going to work with the branding work. And we're all going to move forward from here.
Right.
And we never go backwards.
We don't go backwards.
We never have a meeting where someone is missing.
Right. And William, if you're contemplating doing this work, one of the most important things is that you can ask opinions and buy-in from a lot of people on the
Mhm.
front end, but get about 4 to 5 decision makers that everybody else trusts.
No more than 5 and not an even number.
And they have to show up at every meeting, every time you look at a change to your logo, to some words, and you all discuss it. You all decide it together, knowing you have the trust of everybody else and that you're using their input to guide you through this. And again, it won't be easy, but it's something that you can't allow everybody to give input after a certain point because everybody's going to have an opinion.
Right, and you're
even
gonna
if
take
it's a
2
color
steps
or
forward,
a-
3 steps back.
And for the
And you-
love of God, please do not take it home to your family and
Yeah,
ask
don't
their
ask
opinion.
them because that,
Just keep it in the core group.
we've
We had
seen
it happen.
good work derails very quickly. So we're fortunate that we've had a really locked down process.
Mhm.
And if somebody doesn't show up to one of our meetings, even if we've waited 4 weeks on the calendar, we're
We'll
like, sorry, we
We'll
will not move
reschedule. It's
forward
too
without that
important.
person.
It's important.
So that would be my suggestion, Williams, if you're about, William, if you're about to do this, make sure that you put your core team together as your decision makers after you get everybody else's buy-in and move forward only with that small group to make
Yeah.
your decisions.
And get them to agree on the process.
Yes.
Thank
Does
you.
that help? Okay.
See,
And-
just see a little passion
Right?
behind our
And
thoughts.
consensus happens along the way.
It does.
It really does. And at the end, everybody is satisfied and stands behind the decision they made.
That's awesome. Thank you, William, for that question. And thank
Good
you, Dream Team, for the answer. Any last questions before we wrap it up? Anyone? Feel free to unmute yourself and just holler.
Hop in.
Yeah, hop in, maybe not holler.
We're fine with hollering.
I want to read all the chat stuff. It looks really great.
It does. Some were amening what you were
That's
saying,
word.
and some were
We got
offering up
some amens.
of what they did.
All
Yes. So the great thing that is that, you know, sometimes people have to let this wash over them,
Yeah.
you know, sort of like
We just
absorb what
reviewed
you're
a
saying.
lot.
And so, yeah, I would imagine in the next couple of days, you all will get some emails and other inquiries. And occasionally people reach out to us, which of course we will absolutely redirect to you as well. So
And we will-
again, we really appreciate this.
We will put together a follow-up where you'll have some of the content that we talked through that wasn't on the slides.
Yes.
Okay, that would be great. That would be great.
All those great
I mean,
questions and things.
This was amazing, and a lot of, dare I say, a lot of fun. Because I don't know about anybody.
Our work is done.
I don't know about anyone else on the call, but this is literally the first time I watched 3 grown-ups squeeze into one screen saying something like that really mattered. I've seen 3 grown-ups squeeze on one screen, but
I'm not kidding about how hot it is here.
good thing you like each other.
Yes, I know.
Well, thank
Well,
you all
if there's
so much.
nothing else, you're welcome.
was
Please
a
everyone enjoy the
pleasure
rest of your
and honor.
day. Get
Bye.
cool. Thank you so
Good
much.
America.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye. Stay safe. Bye.
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 Bye, Lily.
Bye, Lily.
Bye.
Heard another bye. Bye,
did.
Emily. I think it was
Are you going
Sharon.
out like romper
That
room?
was me.
Hey, Sharon. Hey.
I knew it. I was like, I know that voice.
Have a good one.
Have a good one,
You
Sharon.
too.
Thank you.